This week's Parsha is Parashat Korach, and last week we spoke about the Meraglim, and it connects to this week's Parsha. The interesting thing is that for the past few weeks, the Parshiot have been linked. Parashat Nasot, Parashat Ba'alotcha, and Parashat Ba'alotcha to Parashat Shlach, and then Parashat Shlach to this one. All linked. One, the thing that it spoke about, the last thing that it spoke about in the Parsha is the next thing, connected with the first thing that it speaks about the next Parsha. Parashat of this week's Parsha and last week's Parsha. Last week's Parsha was speaking about tzitzit. Now its connection with this week's Parsha that we're gonna get into. We're gonna get into it. This week's Parsha is Parashat Korach. So the main subject is Korach in this week's Parsha. Now, first of all, who was Korach? Korach was, as it says in the first words, it says Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kehat ben Levi. So basically, first of all, the question over here is why is it stop at Levi? Why doesn't it stop at Yaakov? So the Chachamim explained because Yaakov prayed. He saw this machloket happening. He says, "I want no part of this. Please take my name out of the list." So Hashem said, "Okay, fine," and he took him out of the list because of prayer. It shows how important prayer, and we'll actually even see in this week's parsha speaks a little bit about prayer, about tefillah. So Korach was a very big Talmid Chacham and a very big tzaddik in the beginning. Korach, also, by the way, in even nowadays in Hebrew, there's a saying. There's a saying of Ashir Korach. If someone's rich, someone's very, very rich, has a lot of money, we're gonna say to him in Hebrew, the saying is, "You're as rich as Korach." Why as rich as Korach? Because in the Gemara, Masechet Sanhedrin 110a, this is a part of the Gemara that it speaks about this. It speaks about this week's parsha, about the whole entire thing with Korach and Moshe. It speaks about how Korach was very, very rich. Besides the whole entire fact that whenever they left Egypt, they got the wealth of the Egyptians. But besides that, Korach himself actually found another type of treasure. Which treasure? What was this? Whenever Yosef was the king, so to speak, the second in command of Egypt, he put his treasure into 3 parts and he hid them somewhere. The Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin 110a or Kuf Yud Amud Aleph speaks about how Korach found one of these treasures that Yosef hid, and he became very rich, so much so that the Gemara actually says that he had 300 donkeys that would carry only his keys. People had donkeys that they had carrying the gold, the silver, whatever they had. He had the donkeys just carrying the keys for his treasure. That's how much treasure he has. The keys to the safes, to the treasure that he had. So automatically we see that it's not a joke. He's a serious guy. Korach was a serious guy. He was Talmid Chacham, very big tzaddik, very, very big tzaddik. He was already known throughout the whole entire Bnei Yisrael. He was known as someone chashuv, and plus he was rich. He had a name, family name. He had a heritage. He was from the tribe of Levi. He had money. He was Talmid Chacham. What else can you have? Especially he was one from the family of the family of Kehat, that carried the Aron, carried the Ark of the Covenant, which is a very big zchut. So it speaks a little bit about how, like I said before, it's connected with last week's parsha. The question is how? How is it connected with last week's parsha? In last week's parsha, it speaks about tzitzit. It speaks about the mitzvah. Hashem gave us tzitzit, and it says that you put the techelet, you put the turquoise on one of the strings of the tzitzit. Nowadays we're not really 100% sure where this dye comes from. We lost the tradition. So right now we currently just wear the whole entire thing white. We don't color it anything. The majority of people just don't color anything because there's safek. So we just leave it as is. So it says about the tzitzit, and also we have another part in the Shema, which is going to be in Sefer Dvarim of the Torah, in the book of Deuteronomy, that speaks about putting mezuzot on your doors, and your door, on the side of your doors, on the side of your door. What's it called? No, the side of the door frame. And so this is connected with this week's parsha. How is it connected? In the same Gemara, it speaks about the same daf. It speaks about what's the difference between a good wife and a bad wife. The first, so it brings two wives. One speaks about a good wife. We're going to get to it. First it speaks about Korach's wife. Actually, the second it speaks about Korach. So first it speaks about the good wife, and then it speaks about Korach's wife. First we're going to talk about Korach's wife. So it says Korach used to always go to his wife, and she used to always cause problems with him and Moshe. And she used to always, stir things up in his heart. Korach was, you could say, he's relatively good guy, but his wife starts making things up. Look what he did to you. Look what he does this. Look how he just treats you like garbage. He treats you second-class citizen. So what does she say? Look at this. He treats himself like he's a king. And what does he do? He puts his brother like the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. And he puts the sons of his brother as the helpers, the small priests. He put Aaron, his brother, as the high priest. Then he put his sons as the regular priests, the regular Kohanim. So you might think she's telling him that, okay, look, he's praying favorites. He could have given it to someone else. Maybe Hashem told him to give it to this person. He said, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I want to give it to his brother. Because his brother, he's going to give family first. Even though maybe Hashem said something else. Maybe he chose me, how Korach would have thought. And for Truma, it says also you give to the Kohen. To who? To Moshe's brother. And you give to Maasel. Who gives Maasel? To the Levim. Meaning that Korach would have gotten. But what's the thing with Maasel? Basically it works like this. Maasel, whenever you have some type of produce, you would have to take a little bit and give it to the Kohen. According to the Torah, you could give even a small amount. Maasel you give right after, you give a tenth of what you have left. Now from that tenth, you give to the Levi. The Levi doesn't just eat it, do whatever he wants with it now. Now he has to take from that, the tenth of the tenth, he has to take a tenth from that and give it to the Kohen again. So what is she saying over here? She's saying, it's not enough that Moshe said to give it to you. What does he say? Take a tenth from you and give it to Aaron. Again, give it to the Kohanim. Even whatever is yours, he still takes. That's basically what she's saying. And also, and in Sefer Bamidbar, in the beginning of this, a little bit before, in chapter 8, verse 5 through 22, it speaks about how the Levi'im had to cut off their hair, shave off all their hair. So she says to Korach, she starts to instigate a little bit more. What she say? So look, Moshe made you take off your beautiful beard. You had a nice, beautiful beard, beautiful hair. He made you take everything off. He make you look like whatever, a bald guy. It make you have nothing. Not even the eyebrows they didn't even have. He said you had such beautiful hair. Moshe was jealous of you. He said he made up this whole entire thing just to make you get rid of your hair. Get rid of your beautiful hair. He's just trying to make you look like an idiot. So he says, what does he say? What does Korach say to him? Because it's say to his wife. This usually even happens nowadays. Now, sometimes you have a husband. He's good. He's Tamid Chacham or whatever it is. In the end, he learns and everything. That's what he has to do. He has a certain role in the community. He has a certain role in something. And the wife just randomly starts to make problems with him and other people. Look how he does this and you don't have it. He probably took it from you. Look how stupid he's making you. Without the wife, the husband would have been, he maybe have a little bit of thoughts, but he would have been fine. But what she does is she makes problems. So this is nothing new. His wife, Korach tells to his wife, she says, no, what do you mean? He also did it. As we know, Moshe was a Levi. He told the Leviim to do it. He also did it. He also shaved off his beard, also shaved off all his hair. He did it also. What does she tell him? It's not good enough. She says, nah, he just told you that. What is it? It's just like, it's how Shimshon, what does he say? He says, let me die with the Plishtim. Give me the power. Samson. He said, give me the power so I can die with the Philistines. So Moshe says, you know what? I also have a good beard. I also have a nice thing, but he has a better one. He has a better one. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sacrifice my look just for him not to have it. That's what she said. She said, Moshe was so spiteful of you that he said, I'm willing to get rid of me. It was a joke. It's a funny joke that says one time, if someone came over to someone with two people right next to each other, two enemies. Actually, they were two friends. Sorry. Goes to one friend. The person goes to one friend. He says, I'm rich. Anything that I will give to you, I'm going to give you anything you want. Anything you decide, I'm going to give to you. He says, okay, fine. Why are you going to give it to me? He says, but anything I'm going to give to you, I'm going to give to your friend double. Anytime. Usually, normal thing would be like, okay, fine, no problem. Whatever you give me $1 million, give him 2 million. He's my friend, I love him. What does this guy say? He starts thinking, he says, listen, okay, he's my friend, he's this, that, but it's not fair. Why does he have to get more than I do? So automatically, he starts looking, starts thinking, he says, that's not fair, it's not nice. Even though he would get something, he's still thinking, why does he have to get more than me? So he's thinking, he says, maybe I should ask for $1 million. No, it's not good because he's going to get 2 million. Maybe I should ask for this. Now he's going to get double. So he says, you know what, I have a perfect answer. He says, I know what you should give me. He says, yes, what should you give me? He says, but again, I'm going to give your friend double. Double of what you say. It's no problem. He says, what do you want me to give you? I want you to poke out one of my eyes. One of my eyes I want you to poke out. Meaning that you're going to poke out one of my eyes, you're going to poke out my friend both of his eyes out. That's how much, even if it's a friend, why does he have to have more than I do? Why? Even though if I get, he's going to get double than me, I don't want anything. If anything, take away from me so that you can take away from him more. So that's what his wife said. She said, he just did that to destroy his own, but to destroy yours is going to be more, he's going to feel better. He's going to feel better. So he says, no, what are you talking about? He says, you know what, I could prove to you. He says, he right now just said the mitzvah of tzitzit. And in tzitzit it says, put the tchelet. It's okay, fine, so test him. What does he say? The Chachamim explain, what is the tchelet? The tchelet is blue. Turquoise. So, what's the blue string supposed to be? The Chachamim explain that you look at the string, it reminds you of the sea, because it's the same color. Reminds you of the sea. And the sea reminds you of the sky, the heavens. And what does the heaven remind you of whenever you think about it? It reminds you of the kisei kavod. Reminds you of the throne of glory. Reminds you of the throne of glory, which reminds you, keep the mitzvot. That's how the Torah, that's how the tzitzit reminds you of all the mitzvot. So she says, okay, fine, if it's the color that reminds you. So you know what you do? You take you have the talit. The talit, you have a whole beged, you have a whole cloak, so to speak, and you have the strings out hanging by it. So you know what you do? You take the whole entire beged, you take the whole cloak, and you make the whole entire cloak blue. And then see what he says. So this is whenever the Midrash in Bamidbar Rabbah 18:3, it comes and it says that he did this what his wife said. And he starts singing, he says, you know what, it actually makes sense, all these type of things. So what does he do? He goes and he gets 250 tzitziot, talitot with techelet, colored with techelet, colored with this blue dye. And he goes over to Moshe and he asks, he says, this is good? He says, no, what type of... He says, is this bag, is this garment still chayav to put techelet for one of the strings? For one of the 8 strings that they have in each corner? Moshe tells him, bevadai, 100%. So Korach is like, wait, 1 second. You told us that the whole entire thing of the tzitzit is that the blue string reminds you of the sea. And then the sea reminds you of the sky. And the sky reminds you of the kisei kavod. What happened? The whole entire thing is blue. What do we need a string for? If I put the cloak, I put the talit, it's going to remind you, I'm going to look at it, that's it. So he says, you're making this up. He says, it's not what God said. Because if it was God, if this is how it is, then the color should remind me. This is you invented this thing yourself. It's not what God commanded. And then he went and he wanted to do another test. He says, okay, fine. He goes over to Moshe and he asks, he says, Moshe, if we have a house filled with Sifrei Torah, you have Sefer Torah like the yeshiva, like the Batei Knesset nowadays that have so many Sifrei Torah. So many Sifrei Torah, we don't even know what to do with it now. Unfortunately, so many. Instead of giving a new Sefer Torah, give it to an Avrech to learn for a year with peace, that he could support his family. But no, people have to buy the 50th Sefer Torah for one Bet Knesset, whatever. So we have so many you have so many Sefer Torah in the house. Let's say you have in the house. Korach is asking, do you still need a mezuzah? He says, yeah. He says, what? He says, why? Why do you need a mezuzah in the house? Because you have Sefer Torah. You know what? Forget it. You have Sfarim. You have something. Anything. Is there anything that could? He says, no, you're obligated in mezuzah. He says, why? The mezuzah has very little parts of the Torah inside. If you have the whole entire Sefer Torah inside your house, it's not good. Bevadai, the parts that are in the mezuzah are in the Sefer Torah, as in the Torah scroll. He says, one has nothing to do with the other. You're obligated to have a mezuzah on your door. Even if you have a Sefer Torah, very nice, you have Sefer Torah, it's not enough. It's not good. Why? Because HaShem said mezuzah. So, he starts going on the whole entire thing. He starts saying, Moshe, you invent things, you have a good imagination, but now I know you're fake, you're this, you're that. He says, no, it's written in the Torah. You saw me going up to Har Sinai. I was the one that gave you the rest of the rest of the commandments. 2 of them God spoke to you directly. The rest I get everything. All this, you know that I'm the one speaking to God. I'm the one relaying everything to you, giving you the Torah and everything. He says, nah, it's all fake. It's all everything. It's written in the Torah. Hashem says tzitzit. Hashem saying mezuzot. No, it's all fake. So this is how he starts to get into it. Now, the Chachamim also explain that Korach was also jealous. Actually, in the Torah, it actually also says it. And he's saying, basically saying that the Torah is saying that Korach was very, very jealous of power. He was power hungry. Whenever Moshe appointed Aaron to be the Kohen Gadol, Korach was jealous. He says, why Aaron? Why not me? And also he says, I want to be king, not Moshe. I want to be king. It's mine. I deserve it. Plus also, we know that Elazar ben Aaron Kohen was put in charge of the Mishmarot, in charge of the Leviim. What the Leviim were supposed to do, the Levites, what they were supposed to do, he was put in charge of taking care of everything that was supposed to be done. They have to do this, and the one put in charge was Elazar ben Aaron Kohen. Sorry, I believe it was Itamar. He was jealous of Itamar. So, Itamar ben Aaron Kohen. So he was jealous of all these 3 things. He says, why does it have to be always Moshe's family? I want also some type of thing. So he also told, Korach also started telling lies to the people about how he even said it before, how the mother, how the wife, how his Korach's wife said it, explained it. As far as I remember, I learned this a while ago. Let's see if I remember that basically that there was one woman. Korach started saying the story about people, how there was one woman that had a field, and she started taking the fruits, the things of the field, and comes Aaron and says, you have to give me a small part of it. Okay, fine, whatever she gives. Then she separates Maasel to the Kohen, and he says, wait, you're supposed to give me 10% of that. She says, okay, fine, how much you want already? And then she starts getting other things, just getting a little bit upset. She says, you know what? I'm going to sell this to be I'm going to sell it. And I'm going to buy an animal. She buys the animal. Aaron Cohen comes and says, wait 1 second, this was the firstborn, it's mine. And she says, okay, fine, you know what? I'm going to get one that's not a firstborn. She gets the firstborn, she says, you know what? I'm just going to have it, I'm going to shecht it, I'm going to eat it. She says, I'm sorry, this one is supposed to be, this world's purpose. Basically, the whole entire story was, Korach was saying that this poor woman, Aaron Cohen, is coming all the time, this is mine, this part is mine, this part is mine. Everything is yours is mine. Everything that you own is mine. So everybody started hating Aaron and started going in his side. And that's how Aaron got 250. We have to understand. It says in the Torah, who are these 250 people? Who are these 250 people? 250 people, it says in the Torah that they were from Bnei Israel. It says, Natan v'Ram bnei Eliav, v'on ben Pelet bnei Reuven. V'ikumu lifnei Moshe v'anashim m'bnei Israel. There was people from the sons of Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel. 50 u'matayim nasiei ha'ida. Nasiei ha'ida, 250 princes, Krei Moed, Anshe Shem. So there are three main things that the Chachamim put to place over here. Mibnei Yisrael, meaning they weren't just stam people, like people that didn't mean anything. They were people that were chashuv people, important people from Bnei Yisrael. And they were Krei Moed, they understood the Moed, they understood, it says, it can translate that they meaning that it says in the literal translation, it says those summoned for meeting. But the Chachamim explained the word Moed. What does Moed also come from? Moed comes to say the Chagim. The Chagim, which is the holidays of the Jews. So they were Korei Moed, they understood how to calculate when the proper time when the proper time was to make the holidays, because you have to do the calculation of when the months are, and it was very difficult, but they knew it's a whole entire, it's not a simple thing. Okay, fine, you put an extra month over here, you put this over here, you calculate, you say when the new moon is going to be, when the new moon is. It's a very specific science that the Chachamim explained, that the ones that were mainly, that carried out from generation to generation, that actually knew bidyuk how to calculate it, were the sons of Yisachar, were from the tribes of Yisachar. But still, even they knew how to do it. They were such Chachamim, such tzaddikim, such, Tamidei Chachamim, that, so these weren't just like random people that Korach, went to the streets and say, okay, you come with me, I want to make you something great. They were already very, very great. Imagine nowadays, Chas v'shalom, shalom adar. Imagine you have 250 of the biggest Tamidei Chachamim in the Jewish known world. And they start going, we already know they're very, very big Talmidei Chachamim, very big tzaddikim. The whole entire Jewish world looks up to them. Even maybe the whole world looks up to them. And what happens? They start going against the prince, the president, the Gedol Ado. They start going against the Gedol Ado. Why? Because one of the Gedol Ado's cousins didn't agree and say no, he's not real, he's this, he's that, all of them go and start going against him. Now, there are things that you could do. Is it true? You gotta check. You gotta this. You gotta that. Is anything he's saying true? What is the Korach say? He's going against Torah. He's going against actual mifurash words in the Torah. So what does he do? He starts to trick. Starts to say he did this. They did that. We're gonna go into it. How they even blame Moshe for things. It's crazy how they could even believe this. Chachamim even cannot understand how they. We'll see it. We'll see what they even started blaming Moshe about. So there's 250 Talmidei Chachamim, Tzadikim, Geonim. They're being dragged into this whole entire thing with Korach. Sad thing is, you can even see in this week's Parsha and last week's Parsha that unfortunately you could have someone that's very, very high in Torah, very high, very big tzaddik. With the spies, as we know, they were also very big chachamim, very big tzaddikim before their whole entire things. But what happened? One thing could go wrong. One thing they could think, I'm righteous. There's no way I could fall. There's no way. As we have, unfortunately, they have the self-righteousness or the complacency that they feel like there's no way I could fall. There's no way I could fall. What the thing is, as we see with the spies and Tzulofchad, the wood gatherer, Chachamim explained that he was a tzaddik. If anything, he even did it l'shem shamayim. But he went down. He went so down. He went so down. The Chachamim explained that the spies, Tzulofchad, they went down to Gehinnom. So the spies, en lo chelek l'olam haba. Tzulofchad, Mechalel Shabbat, first one ever, publicly. Korach, the ground opened and swallowed him into Sheol, the 5th level of Gehinnom. And also the 250 Chachamim. There's a midrash. There's a not midrash. There's a mishnah. There's mishnah in Pirkei Avot. There's mishnah in Pirkei Avot that speaks about, in the 2nd chapter, the 4th mishnah. Sorry, the 5th mishnah. It says, Hillel Omer, Al tifrosh min hatzibur, don't go away from the congregation, Ve'al ta'amin be'atzmecha ad yomotcha, don't believe in yourself until the day you die. Ve'al tadin et chavercha ad shetagia limkomo, don't judge your friend until you get to his place. This is, again, there's the Hebrew and then there's the English. I'm giving you the general, basic English translation. It could be different translations because it works better in Hebrew. You could translate it in different ways, which means you can learn different things from it. ואל תאמר דבר שיהיה אפשר לשמוע שסופו להישמע. Don't say something that people are not going to understand now, that eventually they're going to understand. Don't tell them something, this, that, whatever, and then you're just going to say, well, I don't understand. You can understand it eventually. Because sometimes you can get something he's going to misinterpret it. ואל תאמר לכשיפנה אשנה שמא לא תיפנה. Don't say that whenever I get the chance to learn, I'll learn. Because maybe you're not going to get the chance to learn. Meaning that if someone's working, say, whenever I get the $1 million, whenever I be rich, then I'm gonna spend my whole time in yeshiva, learning, giving tzedakah, giving charity. The Mishnah is saying, no, do it now. Because why? Maybe you're not gonna have the chance. Maybe you're not gonna become rich to be able to give tzedakah. So over here, the main thing that we have over here is don't believe in yourself until the day you die. Why? What does it say? Because the Yetzer Hara never falls asleep. He's always on you. He's always trying to get you to sin. And he's going to try. The best thing that he has in his pocket is to get you to say, I'm good. There's no way. There's no way. I'm the biggest tzaddik. I conquered. I did teshuva. I used to be in the garbage. That's it. I got out. And now I know. How can I ever go back? I know. It's not enough. You always have to do it. You always have to grow. You always have to learn musar. And it's in the Mishnah that says, do not believe in yourself. What does it mean, do not believe in yourself? Does it mean you cannot have confidence? No, have confidence. Believe that you could do it. Believe it. Don't just believe that I'm good. I have first row seat in Gan Eden. Rav Nissim again always used to say, people think nowadays, all the time, they think, I'm such a tzaddik, is there anybody greater than me? I'm such an anav, I have the best middot. These chachamim, they have no idea what they're talking about. I'm the best one, I have all the sechel, I have all the chokhmot. So this person thinks, he says, Rav Nissim again says, some people think they're Shora Rishona b'Gan Eden. They're the first row seat in Gan Eden. I'm going to have the first row, the first top level. So they don't even know that they're not even going to have the zchut to get into Gehenom. Hashem Yerachem. Even they're going to have to go to Kafakela. Who knows how long. And maybe, I might even get to Gehenom, wherever level, whichever thing, Hashem Yerachem. Even to get into Gehenom is a zchut. Shows how much zchut someone needs. Someone can lose the zchut to get into Gehenom and instead goes to Kafakela. That's not the point of the thing, of this shiur. The whole entire thing is, don't believe in yourself don't put yourself self-righteousness that you think you're gonna just pass. There was a Kohen Gadol that the Chachamim speak about, which his name was Yochanan Kohen Gadol, and he was a tzaddik, Talmid Chacham, amazing. He was Kohen Gadol. What's Kohen Gadol? Kohen Gadol, every single time, you are the most holiest man in the world. With the holiest day in the world, on Yom Kippur. What do? You go into the holiest place in the world, in the Kodesh Kodeshim, the Holy of Holies. You go over there, and you give Ketoret in front of Hashem, praying for Am Yisrael. And let's say if the Kohen Gadol gets a bad thought, what happens? He dies on the spot. If he thinks about something else, thinks about his wife, thinks about something, the bills that he didn't pay, automatically he dies on the spot. Why? He has to have a straight mind. I'm here specifically to do the avodah, not to do anything else. Not maybe I'll check out the sights a little bit, check out, wow, look at the decorations of the room. No, I have to do the ketoret. I have to do the avodah that I'm supposed to do. So Yochanan Kohen Gadol was 80 years Kohen Gadol. He was tzaddik for 80 years. Until one time, he became complete kofel, complete heretic, and became a Sadducee. Became a tzedukי. And he changed his name. It says over here, John Hyrcanus. In the end, he became a kofel. Even though he was a very big tzaddik, you always have to watch yourself. You always have to learn more musar. You always have to learn more Torah. How can I better myself? How can I better my middot? How can I better my Torah? How can I better my halachot? Learning more halachot, growing on my halachot, knowing what to do. What does it mean to be a Jew? Working on my yirat shamayim, working on my ahavat Hashem, ahavat Torah, and in that way we'll be better. So that was the mistake of these very big tzaddikim. It says also, we see also, what's the connection? We see in the first pasuk of this week's parsha, we see that we have Korach from the tribe of Levi. We see the Tana Leviram and On ben Pelet from Reuven, from Shevet Reuven. What does Reuven and Shimon and Levi have to do with each other? What do they have to do with each other? So the Chachamim explain, as we can see, that how were the Shvatim placed? How was the camp placed? We see that Reuven was put at, so over here, Reuven, this is in Sefer Bamidbar, in Parashat Bamidbar also, it says that the Ephraim was to the west. Actually it's on this side. Ephraim was to the west, and also the Shevet Levi was surrounding the Mishkan. Shevet Levi was surrounding the Mishkan. Let's see, the Mishkan is in the middle. Shevet Levi was surrounding the Mishkan, and Bnei Israel were surrounding them. So over here was Yehuda, over here was Dan, Ephraim, and Reuven, and other Shvatim within them. So Reuven was on this side. Let's say like this. Reuven was on this side, and even within the small circle of Shevet Levi, there were one over here, one over here, one over here, and one over here. The one right next to Reuven, the family of Reuven, the family of Shevet Levi that was on the same side as Reuven was the family of Kehat. So the Chachamim explain over here. What did they learn over here? They learn Oy leRasha, Oy leShchino, meaning that if you have a Rasha, you have someone wicked, what is he going to do? If he has neighbors or friends or whatever it is, he has people close to him, what is he going to do to him? So it's going to be, I'm going to be there, and then okay, fine, maybe I'll even influence him to be better. What happens? Chachamim explain, if you're next to a Rasha, especially if you're his neighbor, he's going to rub off on you. You're going to be punished also because of him. In the end, either you're going to become a Rasha like him, or in the end, he's going to have to be punished. And since you're in the same place as him, you're in the same, you're close to him, whenever there's going to be a tragedy that's going to come upon him, it's going to affect you also. For one example, as they say, as we know, a mitzorah, someone that has tzarat, someone that has leprosy, they like to call it. It's not really leprosy, it's very different, it's spiritual and physical. So that person has tzarat. What happens if he gets it on his house? If he gets it on his house, they check this, that, okay, fine, they wait, they check. In the end, they see tzarat, bevadai. What do they have to do? They have to break down the wall. Now, what happens if you have the Rasha living over here, the Tzaddik living over here? What happens? And they have to break the wall in the middle. Since the Rasha that spoke Lashon Hara now has to get his wall removed, what happens to the Tzaddik? He also gets his wall removed. Why? He didn't do anything. Tzaddik. No. Since he was connected, he was next to the Rasha, he gets damaged also. He gets punished also. Just by being next to the Rasha, you get punished as well. This is in Pirkei Avot, Mishnah, Perek, chapter 1, Mishnah 7. ניתאי רבי לא אומר, הרחק משכן רע ואל תתחבר לרשע ואל תתייאש מן הפורענות. Nitai of Arbel said, keep away from a bad neighbor and do not associate with a wicked person, and do not abandon hope of retribution. Meaning that stay away from bad friends. Don't stay away from a bad neighbor. Don't be next to a bad neighbor. Don't even associate with wicked people. Say, I want to do kiruv. Okay, you go there, so to speak, you plant whatever you have to plant. You plant that thing. Do the shiur in some place that it's not. You're not going to their house. You're going to the Bet Knesset. They're not even coming to your house. You're doing it in a place that's you choose and it's neutral. They don't have control. You have control because you're the speaker or you're the teacher. You're whatever. But in the end, it's a place that you're staying away from my family. I'm staying away from where you are, and we're going to a neutral place. So someone saying, I was speaking to one person. I was like, listen, you have to get out of public school. He says, yeah, but I have to do kiruv. I have to help the guys. This, that. I'm like, you can't stay in the garbage and help people in the garbage. You can't clean other people whenever you're still dirty. Your hand is going to make them even dirtier. You have to wipe yourself first. You have to clean yourself. Get out of public school. Learn Torah. Be in yeshiva. Gather up the holiness and the Torah. And then you could go back. You could go to the people and say, this, that, you were my friend, you're this, you're that, come, we're going to teach, you're going to this, we're going to that, whatever it is. You help them. But don't be together with them. Don't make the friendship. Don't be, stay with them, always be with them, always chill with them, because it's just going to damage you, it's going to hurt you. So don't even associate with Rashaim. And do not abandon hope of retribution. Meaning that if you know that this guy's a Rasha, he's going to have to get punished one way or another. Eventually something's going to come on him. And maybe something's going to come on him at one shot. You're not going to have enough time to separate from him. And you're going to also be in the crossfires. So that was Perkei Avot. And also it says it in Masechet Sukkah, page 56b. This is how it shows to not be anywhere close to Rishaim. If you want to do Kiruv, do it in a way how you be careful, especially whenever, let's say for example, if there's women that's immodest, okay, so you have to help them, or if it's better, get your wife to help them. How it says, Abraham dealt with the men, and Sarah dealt with the women, and they made them do teshuva. But it's not necessarily like that. Okay, they could come in the shiur, have the mechitza in the middle, men sit on this side, women on this side, and look at the men. You don't have to stare at the women, especially if they're immodest. You have to guard your eyes still. Can't go into their wickedness, their disgustingness. Next, another thing, why Shmuel started getting mixed up. He says, I'm supposed to be better. I'm great. I'm supposed to be on top of Moshe. Why is Moshe on top of me? Why? Because Chachamim explain who came from Korach. Who was the grandchild? Who was the seed, so to speak, of Korach? They explain that the seed of Korach was who? Shmuel HaNavi, Samuel the prophet. Now, as we know, in the Torah explains. It says Shmuel Shakul K'Moshe ve'Aaron, that, so to speak, Shmuel was on the level of Moshe and Aaron, was equal to greatness as Shmuel and Aaron. What that means is a different story, different details, not the topic for right now. Korach says, how is this possible that my descendant is going to be more, it got to mean that I'm even greater than them. I'm going to be greater than them. So he starts thinking, okay, fine. So you know what? I'm definitely going to survive. I'm definitely right. Maybe they're going to die. I have no idea, whatever. But me, I'm going to have a descendant, which means I'm definitely not going to die. Nothing's going to happen to me. The thing is, he didn't think correctly. He saw correctly. 100%. Shmuel is going to be very big tzaddik. It's going to come out of Korach. It's going to be his descendant. But he didn't think correctly. Because Korach actually got everybody in his whole family to join his rebellion. But he didn't know that his sons were actually going to do teshuva right before the last moment, before he died. Before he died, they were thinking, they said, what is this? They start thinking, it doesn't make sense. Why is my father going against this, that? He says, you know what? I cannot do this anymore. I have to stop now. They stopped at that moment. They did teshuva, and they were saved for the punishment that Korach and his followers got. So, from these sons came out Shmuel. They did teshuva and came out. But Korach, in the end, got punished. Now this is something very interesting. What does it say in the pasuk? What does it say? It says, over here in the third verse. It says that Korach starts screaming at Moshe. He says, "Who do you think you are? You think you're better than us? Kulam kadoshim, kulam kadoshim. Everybody's holy. You think you're better than me? You think you're better than everybody else? That you have to be the king? Your brother has to be holier than us. So everybody's holy. Every Jew, every person. And technically, you might think he's right. Every Jew is a holy Jew. He's screaming, everybody's holy. Why do you have to be better? Why does the Gadol Hador have to be Gadol Hador? What does he think he's better than us?" Now, at a certain point, he's correct. Whenever it's a Jew, every Jew has a spark. Follow Torah, mitzvot, beautiful spark in them. That's amazing. But you got something incorrect. To say that Kulam Kadoshim, first of all, to say it against someone that actually worked his whole entire life, he's worked hard, pain, that he nullified his whole entire, what do I want? No. It's what does God want? I'm putting what does God want in front of me. So he put over there, and you're going against him right now. What's wrong with this statement of Kulam Kadoshim? It's a simple answer of who are you to right now say who's Kadosh? HaShem says Kadoshim to you, Kadosh ani. What does it say over there? What does it say? To follow Torah, follow mitzvot, do this, do that, don't stay away from this, stay away from this. You're calling everybody Kadosh, especially there were many sinners. See the Danan and Viram, how much problems they gave. So that was his problems. Fortunately, there's even I don't know what to call them, Rabbanim nowadays or something. I don't know what to call them, rabbis. I don't know rabbis. But they say, you see one very big mikubal, very big tzaddik. It's a known tzaddik, known mikubal, not one of these mikubalim, fake ones. No, real mikubal. They say, he's fake, he's this, he's that. But what do they say? These gays, Kedoshim, I love them. So, with the problem with what Korach said, what did Korach say? Everybody's holy. Excuse me, what do you mean everybody's holy? Who's holy? What? The gay guys are holy. The ones that gay, the public is saying we're gay, we're proud to be gay, they're holy. The ones that say, the ones that kill people, the murderers, the people that do abortions all the times, the people that tell on their brothers and sisters to the government, the malshinim, the Muslim, meaning the ones that inform people, inform the government of people to kill them, to send them to death, the kufrim, and all the heretics, all these people, how are they holy? They're not holy. And especially also sometimes you have the apostate Jews that are Christians that are missionizing people. They're trying to, go sneakily, especially they act like Jews. Unfortunately, they have many people that they were goyim, but still they put they put the hat, they put the beard, they put everything, and they act like they're Jews, and they convert people. They convert people to Christianity. So these people are holy. These people are not holy for nothing. And especially, I said that what they accuse Moshe. What did they accuse Moshe of? They accuse Moshe of arayot. They accuse Moshe. There are people that accuse Moshe The people that accused Moshe of Eshet Ish, of being with married women. And also there were people that cried over the arayot, meaning they said before Matan Torah we were able to marry certain people. Once we got the Torah, we can't marry certain people. So in the pasuk, in chapter 11, verse 10, it says that they cried for their families. Now, what does it mean they cried for their families? So in Masechet Shabbat, page 138, it speaks about how. What does it mean they cried for their families? They cried because they couldn't be with their families. They cried because, now you see what I did to myself. I accepted this Torah, now it just gave me some things that I can't be with my own families. These people are kadosh, that they want to be with their families, that HaShem said you cannot be, so they still want to, so now they're crying, I love you, but I cannot be with you. These people are holy. So that was Korach's problem. There was one thing that I heard from a Rav Tovia singer, Y.E.S, that he is a anti-missionary, he's a counter-missionary, that he is a very big baki, he's fluent in the written Torah and also their false testament, the New Testament. He's fluent in both. And he explains, he says, who do you ever see? You see that a lot of people always look at the prophets and you see always rebuking the people, always telling them. So what's the job of a prophet? The job of a prophet is to rebuke the people, to get them in line, to say you're going in the wrong path, go to here, do this, you have to do this, you have to do this correctly. Yeah, give them support, give them everything, of course. Even see Moshe. He says, he always rebukes Am Yisrael, but what does he say? He says, I love you, everything. But the job of a Navi, the main job, is to rebuke the people, to tell them you have to go back in line, to give them musar, to give them rebuke. Who's the ones that always give? You never hear anything. What do they say? They only give compliments to the Jewish people, about the Jewish people. Who are these people? It's always the Reshaim, always the wicked people. You see Bil'am, he says, Ma tov o'alecha Yaakov mishkanetech Yisrael. How good are your tents and your dwelling places? Also with Korach and also Haman. Korach says everybody's kadosh. So it's usually the wicked people that always say the praises, and it's the Nevi'im, the prophets, the true prophets, the tzaddikim, that always try to rebuke, to try to put them, not to just rebuke because I hate you, to rebuke, to actually put you back in line, because I know you're going back then, it's going to be worse for you. It's going to be worse for you, so I got to help you now. Even though it's going to be a little difficult, I got to help you. So it's always to push you to be better. And now we have On Ben Peret. On Ben Peret was he had the first wife. The first wife that we spoke about. First wife is the one that says, she said to him, his wife, On Ben Peret's wife, says, what are you doing? If you go with Korach, you're going to be his second. If you go with Moshe, you're going to be a second. So what's the point of this whole entire machloket? You're already the second. You're already Moshe's student. You're going to be Korach's student if he wins. Just get out of it. He says, I want to, but I can't. I already promised them. She says, don't worry, I have an idea. She got him drunk and she put him to sleep. And she says, listen, I already heard Korach saying, Kulam Kadoshim, everybody's Kadoshim. So he says, you know what, you're Kadosh, you're holy, I'm gonna see it. So she goes to the front door, she's staying in the front of the tent while her husband is sleeping, and she takes off the covering for her hair. As we know, married women have to cover their hair with the handkerchief, with the kerchief, or a scarf, or a hat, whatever it is. She takes it off, and she sees them approaching. And what do they look? They see, wait, there's a married woman without a covering. Said, you know what, forget about him. We don't need him. We could have this plitzut, this thing. I don't want anybody associated with. They run away. They say, we can't look at this. We can't look at this. So they run away. So this is On Ben Pelet. While they were going to hell, literally, On Ben Pelet was sleeping because his wife saved him. He did teshuva. That's the difference between Korach's wife, between a bad wife and a good wife of On Ben Pelet. Don't stay in machloket. It's no point. Get out of it. Distance yourself from machloket. As we said, Moshe explains about before, whenever Hashem says, listen, distance yourself from these people, Moshe is telling the people, he says, remove yourself from these wicked people. As we said before in the Mishnah, it says, do not be around wicked people. Disassociate yourself from them, from Rishaim. We're not talking about Rishaim that has to be murderers. It could be people that simply go against God. They don't follow in the Torah mitzvot. They don't do the Torah mitzvot. Another thing we could see over here is whenever finally the judgment comes and Korach is swallowed up by the ground, what happens? There's a few words over here. First of all, Moshe is saying, if a thing happens, if a miracle happens, then you're going to know that Hashem sent me as a messenger. And he's saying that if they go into l'chaim she'ola, that they go alive to the pit, to the grave. And also we see that whenever it says right after he spoke, mamash, the whole entire miracle happened, the ground opened up and was swallowed. Korach swallowed all of Korach's followers. And it says that they went v'chol asher lehem chaim she'ola. Yeah, it says, and they and all that there was this descended alive to the pit, and the earth covered them over, and they were lost from among their congregation. Now, what is this she'ola? She'ola is Gehinom, it's hell. Chachamim explained that mamash, he went literally straight down to hell. Now, people a lot of times say, there's no hell in the Torah. It doesn't say hell in the Torah. What are you talking about? Where does it say Gehinom in the Torah? Over here is one of the words, one of the names for Gehinom in the Torah. It says it straightforward. It says that they went down to She'olah. We could also see that there is in the Gemara, as I said in Masechet Sanhedrin 1:10, speaks about that one time Rabba Bar Chana was walking in the desert and he saw an Arab merchant over there, and the Arab merchant says, come, I want to show you something. You know, this Jewish rabbi, he says, I want to show you something. He comes and he says, I want to show you the place where Korach was swallowed. Well, Chana is okay, I want to see it. So he saw two holes on the ground, and he saw smoke coming out of it. He checked, he says, it's hot, it's very hot. So what does he do? He takes wool and he puts it on a spear, and he makes it wet, especially. Mix it wet, and he puts it in one of the holes. He takes it out and it burnt. It completely burnt the whole entire thing. Even if it's wet, even so much that it's wet, it still got burnt. That's how intense the heat was. the Arab told him, listen carefully. He put his ear by the thing and he hears Moshe emet, v'torato emet, vehen badaim. Moshe is true and his Torah is true, and we're liars. We're complete fakes. First of all, this shows one thing: a lot of people get mistaken that in the Torah, Gehinnom is fire. Gehinnom is hot. It's not Birs Busha. It's not just embarrassment. Be very careful. So now we have, in the Torah, we have an obligation. It says an obligation, do not be like Korach and his followers. Do not be like Korach and his followers. What does it mean? Don't get into machloket for no reason. Even if it's for a reason, get out of it. Instead, be like Moshe. What did Korach do? Korach stood strong. I'm not going to do teshuva, I'm not going to have it. Moshe came many times. Do teshuva, went to Datan and Aviram. Listen, I'm willing to go to you. Do teshuva. We're not coming to you, even if you poke our eyes. We're not coming to you. Moshe wanted to get rid of the machloket, end it. I'll say whatever you want. I'll try to help you. I'll try to do whatever it is. Can't go against Torah, but I'll help you. I'll do whatever else you want. Maybe there's something else, some way you could settle this. That's not going against the Torah. That's not just. So Moshe was trying always, all the time, looking for ways to get out of the machloket. Was looking ways to clean himself, and so much so that the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says which machloket is l'shem shamayim or which machloket is not l'shem shamayim. So it says which argument is for the sake of Emin, which one is not. So it says whenever the machloket is l'shem shamayim, it brings Hillel and Shammai, as in the Gemara we always see Bet Hillel, Bet Shammai. Always, this one is a machloket l'shem shamayim. Why? Because you're fighting for Torah, you're fighting for truth. Did HaShem say this? I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to learn. Taking the books. Taking what my chachamim, my rabbanim spoke to me. What my rabbanim told me. What the books say. Miforash, not that. Whatever the Torah says. It says it like this. That one is a Shem Shamayim. If it's a pruta, if it's a dinar, which one? Always going back and forth. Which one is not L'Shem Shamayim? Korach v'adato. With the one that's not L'Shem Shamayim, the one that's not for the sake of him, is Korach and his people. And as you can see, it doesn't say between Korach and Moshe. It means Korach wasn't even in the picture whenever it's speaking. Which one was not L'Shem Shamayim? Korach and his people. That even between them, even between Korach and his people, were also fights. This was not L'Shem Shamayim. And it says, get out of there, don't even be in this type of machloket at all. Automatically, right after, the people of Am Yisrael start screaming. A day later, they start screaming, you killed the people of God. They start screaming at Moshe and Aaron. So what do you mean? I just said if God does the miracle, God does it, and hole opens the hole that they go to hell. It's God sent me. Plus, they know, they saw that Moshe was the messenger of God. It's not just people that just heard, they just met him just now. They were at Har Sinai. They saw him taking out of Egypt. They knew who Moshe was. They still start screaming, you killed the people of God. Who are you? Hashem doesn't like this. Hashem gets upset. He says, what are you doing? Why are you screaming? Why are you going against my loved one, my servant, Avdi? Why are you going against him? So Hashem says to Moshe, again, I'm going to destroy these people. Move. Let me kill them. Moshe goes again, as a leader, he goes again, don't kill them. Don't worry. Please, he always tries to back us up, always tries to back up the Jewish people. That in the end, as I said before, the Navi'im, the prophets, will rebuke us, will tell us everything. To God they say, no, this, that, whatever, all these type of things. But to the people, they will scream, they will say, you have to do better. You're not doing this good, you're not doing this good. But they will fight for them to the very end. They will sacrifice themselves to save them. as we see with Moshe and the other Nevi'im and the other prophets. And we see that Moshe, what does Moshe do right after? He tells Aaron, he says, listen, go and take Ketoret, do Ketoret right now, do the incense offering, do it fast. So he goes, he fasts, he does it, and the plague stops. Now, how do we know the plague stops? How did he even know to do the Ketoret? Chachamim explain in Masechet Shabbat 84a, speaks about how the Satan gave a gift to Moshe. What was the gift? The secret of that a Ketoret stops plagues. That's why at the time of the virus in 2019, I don't want to say the name, you see a lot of people, a very, very big sigula, very big thing to say Pitum HaKetoret. Say it constantly. Whenever there's a plague, say Pitum HaKetoret, because that's if you're doing it. Don't just say it like it's a rap song. Say it slowly with intent. Say each word correctly, precisely. Do it correctly, the correct pronunciation, correct words. If it's mil'el or milra, if it's supposed to put the emphasis in the beginning of the word or the end of the word, do it correctly. There is one thing that I want to say, and then I'm going to finish off over here, that it speaks about, that I saw in Mislat Sharim, it speaks about, that I saw in the commentary from Rav Yaakov Hillel Shlita, that it speaks about how whenever someone has a certain tafkid in the world, if he's rich or he's poor or he's healthy or he's sick, how is he supposed to act? How is he supposed to do? And HaShem makes him in that specific situation for him to do avodat HaShem, be the best Eved HaShem in that specific situation. He made you rich, okay? Do your avodat HaShem with rich. Give money to tzedakah, give money to people, to kiruv, to avrechim. If you're poor, do the most you can. You could see, HaShem made you. I want to give this type of tafkid to you. I don't need you to be rich. You need to be rich. Because if you be rich, it could be a much bigger problem for you. I'll give you a certain thing that this is what's going to help you in life. Even if you're sick, I'll make you sick, but I won't. Even if God made us totally sick, chas v'shalom, and we can't do anything, we're totally immobile, we're sitting in our seats, can't move. Honestly, He has full right to do that. He created us. He can do whatever He wants with us. But in the end, HaShem is merciful. He knows what to do. So in the end, even if He gives us 5 minutes to do whatever we want to do, so basically, there was a story of that Rav Yaakov Hillel brings in his book, and he says that one time there was a couple that the wife came to him, and she says that it totally broke her heart. That basically, she was the daughter of a Talmid Chacham, and she got married to some guy, to a guy in yeshiva, thinking that he's going to become very big Talmid Chacham. But mamash, right after the wedding, for some reason, he had some type of illness. He had some type of sickness, either if it was emotional or physical, whatever it was, that he was only mamash able to learn for 15 minutes a day, and then he would totally collapse. He couldn't do it anymore. He used to learn full every single day with full power, full everything for hours on end. But this time he could only do 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes, it's not barely anything, barely nothing. So she's so upset now. Like, got into the marriage because I thought he was going to be Talmid Chacham. I thought he was going to learn all that. That's what I was raised to be. That's why I got into the marriage. So Rav Yaakov Hillel says, I understand that. But HaShem says that your tafkid, your mission in life, is now, don't think that now your husband is only 15 minutes a day. You should understand that your husband, he could be thinking like, what's 15 minutes? I can only do 15 minutes. You know what? Even 15 minutes is nothing. I'm going to just stop that. but he's going to his full power and he's collapsing. He's not just saying, you know what, I'm just going to do it. He's collapsing and he can't do anymore. This mamash could be even better than 10 full hours. He's doing everything he can. He says, this is what Hashem chose for you. Understand that this is mamash best thing for you. Lefum tzara agra. We have a saying, according to this anguish, according to how much effort you put into it, how much suffering you put into doing mitzvot, doing whatever you have to do, that's how much reward you get. So this whole entire thing, we can understand that first of all, whenever we're in whatever type of level we're in, Hashem put us there for us to work with there. This is something that we can learn, something that Korach and the Tan and Abiram did not understand, did not take in. Korach was saying, I want his job, I want his job, I want his job. Why am I here? Even though he had a very big job, he was holding the Aron. Still not good enough. He couldn't understand this. He couldn't get it. B'ezrat Hashem, we will get it. We will be the greatest avadim of Hashem, and we will grow. B'ezrat Hashem, shnizkeh, teshuva shlema, and be there whenever Mashiach comes. B'mhera b'yameinu, amen.